So this is Nina Perez at Straight Talk, no sugar added. Thank you so much for watching. So this show is created to give you resources, tools, and tips, and to discuss life topics, hopefully to change and transform your thinking. We are going to be hitting on a faith topic today, and actually we will be discussing faith. And I have two amazing friends of mine here today to discuss this with me. And we wanted to just touch on what faith is, why have faith, and I mean, what does faith look like for everybody? Because it's different for everyone. So we will be doing these faith topics throughout our show here at Straight Talk. And we'll be talking to a bunch of different people, from apologists and pastors and worship singers and so on and so forth, to talk about different angles of what faith looks like in people's lives. So I want to thank you so much for joining us. And I wanted to introduce you to my amazing friends. They're my friends. Okay. So we have Vernice Holmes here. She's here with me. And Lori Tarani, right? Am I saying that right?
Yes.
They are both here with me to discuss this topic. So we hope you enjoy. This is our first faith talk. Yay! So I wanted to talk about what is faith, right? So I had to look it up because, all of us have a different angle and a different view of what we think faith is, right? And faith can be in any religion and in any topic and anything, really, if you think about it, right? So according to the dictionary, it means complete trust or confidence in someone or something. But it also uses this term as complete trust, as in faith in a politician, for example, right? And then I found that it also says it's a strong belief in God or its doctrines of religion based on a spiritual apprehension rather than proof. And I don't necessarily agree with that because I feel like, for me anyway, I'll talk about me personally. For me, faith is rooted in knowing who God is in my life, right? So it's not rather than proof, but it's because of proof that I have this faith, right? So everybody has their own view of what faith is, or their view of their understanding of what faith is. And the word faith means so many different things. I can look at my husband and say, I have complete faith in you, and that just means I have complete trust in you. But the reason I have that, and this is why I like to explain what I mean, is I have complete faith in my husband because he has proven to me that I can have faith in him. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So a lot of times when we, look at these kind of descriptions that say, oh, it's just a spiritual thing and you have no proof, I don't agree with that because I actually am a very skeptical person myself, and I like to see things solid, So for me, if I had an acquaintance or something that promised me the world, I wouldn't completely have faith in that, because there would be no proof that that person would do those things, right? Now, if they were the type of friends that were there for you and did what they said they were going to do and had your back, now you can have faith and trust that that person would do that. And that is my walk, right? With the fact that I do believe in God, and the reason that I do believe in God is because of the proof in my life. Does that make sense?
Yes,
okay.
It does.
So when I read that, I was like, irritated me a little bit, but I had to get over it. So I wanted to hear, your thoughts on what faith is to you, and why do you even have faith? Is it even important to you? What is faith to you when you hear that word, when you see that word?
Well, yeah, I'm really glad that we're doing this because I think this is
such a good topic.
Yeah, and there's so many things that people have lost faith in the world. You mentioned in the definition politicians. Really? That's probably one we could scratch off for the most part today.
Yeah.
But,
who has faith in that?
It's diminished, right? I mean, in so many things, and you hear these stories about people that were pillars in the community, and then until they did something, and so it's like more and more our faith is being challenged in the things that we assume are going to be there for us. So I can remember a time in my life where I didn't believe in God at all, and people that are out there seeking for something that's true and something that's real. I think right now it's really hard for people to feel like there's anything that you can trust.
That's good.
So I think that right now, like as we're talking about this, I think it's good for me to even go back and think about when I didn't believe in anything. Like I was so like, there's no truth, there's no God, there's nothing. It's just whatever you think, whatever you feel. And so I think this is a good conversation for us to have about, well, how did we get to a place of faith? And is faith just a feeling? Is faith just,
Yeah, that's good. Is faith just a
feeling?
Right, but then I think if faith was just a feeling, just going on what you're saying, you never believed and now you do, right? Or have faith, I should say. So if it was just a feeling, then you would have been over it by now.
Exactly.
Because the truth is that our feelings are finicky, right? So we can be angry one second and happy the next second, or vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Or sad or angry or depressed or whatever these feelings are, because feelings will lead you astray all the time.
True.
So I think there's something that has to happen, or a trust that has to be built, right? In order for you to go from no faith or nothing at all to a faith, right?
Correct.
And to still be walking in it. And I don't know how long you've been walking in your faith. It could be a week.
Long time.
Okay, so it's been a long time. So that means that there has to be something solid, right? Like a solid proof or something that you can stand on, that you can say, okay, I have faith, right?
Correct.
Because otherwise, if it was feelings,
Right.
then now I'd talk to you tomorrow and you'd be in a completely different place.
And up and
Agreed.
down, especially as girls, we're up and down and all over the place emotionally. So we don't want to base our faith on any type of our feelings at all.
Correct.
Ever.
So,
It won't
Yeah.
last.
Yeah.
so
exactly.
as an artist, I know I'm very visual. So this whole topic of faith is tremendous, like you said. And so I was asking God, what does faith look like for me? And I started getting these pictures of Alice in Wonderland. Don't ask me why. I haven't read the story in a million years. And I started to do some research on it, watch the movie, and then I was getting all this download of like Alice in Wonderland. And so I painted this picture, and I brought this picture to show everyone.
You brought it.
So this is what faith looks like to me, what God was showing me. Here's this girl. She's running towards something. She's searching for something, but she doesn't know. Alice in Wonderland ends up being in this garden. And so that's representative of the Garden of Eden. And so she's searching, like we all are, searching for something, whether it's a man, whether it's a job, whether it's a career, whether it's, that new dress you want to put on to make you look fabulous, whatever it is, we're searching for something. And she's in the garden and she sees the white rabbit, and she starts chasing the rabbit, right? And as she's chasing the rabbit, she falls down this tunnel. And it was representative of where she falls down. I don't know if you could see all these tiny lines and paths that's on this tree. And the tree representing the tree of good and evil, right? This knowledge that we're supposed to have, especially in this age of tech, and we're so smart and we can do everything ourselves. And so these little tiny paths, there's a zillion paths here, and they go round and round, and the signs is this way, there's my way, there's over here, there's go back, there's up, there's down, there's no way, there's somewhere, there's maybe, there's disappointment, there's confusion, there's danger. So there's all these paths, but then the Lord told me to just paint this little tiny path right here in gold, and it says, the way. And so this little tiny path, we need faith to get there.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, even if you're a believer and you have faith, I may have faith in an area that you may not have faith in, because your experience is different than mine. And that's why it's so important to be with a community of people that have faith in different areas, because my faith may be strong right here. Right? But I'm weak right here. So I need you so that I can come up this arrow, pass by this little nasty little cat here with this slick little grin. We don't want to go near him. Right? Because he's the thing that's hiding in the tree. See how he has no eyes? He's just sitting up there lurking, waiting for us to get into danger. So we need each other so that our own experiences, right, can help us build each other up, where I'm going to be weak in an area and God's going to use you to share what you've been through so that my faith can be built in that area. And so for all of us to come together and to share, because what is it that God has done in my life that I can say, I have faith in him and I have experienced him in this area. That's where I'm going to be strong in. But a lot of people, as you said, they don't want to hear about God. They don't want to hear about faith. They don't, because they've been through so much disappointment.
Yes.
Right? And so it's like, where do we need God in our life? What is the biggest need right now, today, that we can evaluate and say, I need God in this area?
Yeah,
You know?
and that's interesting when you said that, some people don't have faith, and where do we get this, and all that. And as I was researching that as well, like, what are some of the things that are said about faith, but not in the way that we're talking, in the positive way, but what has influenced, like you said, that a lot of people are losing a lot of faith,
Right.
and why are they losing that faith, right? So then we have to like really decide, what are we listening to? What are we reading? What do we believe when somebody else is projecting something, whether it's
Who's
on a show,
influencing us.
who's influencing,
Right.
exactly.
Yes.
And I'm not saying for that everyone needs to be a Christian. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you are a person that's maybe, and this is just my opinion, okay, but I'm saying, like, if there's and I'll use me as an example. If I used to struggle a lot with depression. And anxiety, right? I was always worried. I always had a lot of depression and anxiety because of the things that happened in my life. But when I surrounded myself with people who were negative and had that same mindset, I felt like I, A, was comfortable in that, and B, wasn't getting out of it, So you kind of have to be careful. Whether or
Right.
not you're a Christian or not is irrelevant. It's almost like just being aware of your surroundings and what's around you, right?
Yep, yep.
I'm not necessarily telling you to cut off your whole family because they're a bunch of
Negative.
negative
Yeah,
Nellers,
right,
right?
right.
But what I'm saying is to be careful what enters you. For me, like I said, I was struggling a lot with depression. I really
Right,
was, and
right.
they were going to put me on medication and the whole thing. That's when I found God, and that kind of He helped me with all of that. But and not that there's anything wrong with medication, because I definitely would have
Right.
taken it. I just didn't have to, thank God, right? But the whole point is that if I would have surrounded myself or read a bunch of negativity or just got around, like I spoke to my son. I have an amazing 25-year-old whom I love more than anything. And he was telling me, he was giving me like all this negative scenarios. And I said, can I just ask you like one quick question? And he's just getting into faith. He's not somebody who has strong faith. He's just like tapping into it. And I said to him, what are you watching? Just by chance,
Yeah.
He said, oh, that's a good point. And I said, well, you sound very negative. You think everybody's after you. You're sounding like some sort of like prisoner trying to survive. I
Right.
said, what is this? And sure enough, every show he watches is those live prison shows with these prison
wow.
gangs and these prison
Right.
things
No
and
negative,
stuff. And I
right.
said, you sound like that. I said, I don't even know if you realize it, but you're actually mimicking that behavior. And he's like, wow, I never noticed that,
Wow. Wow.
But that's how powerful
Yeah,
it is
yeah.
when you're trying to find faith or stand in faith, right? What you're actually believing in and what's actually coming in and
Yes,
out, right?
yes,
So
yes.
I say all that to say I was looking up some certain views of faith, right? And faith has been attacked, as you guys know, forever, right? I mean, I should say religious faith, because there's a lot of
there's
different
types of faith.
types of
You can have
right?
faith in a tree.
Yeah, you can.
That's not being attacked
No,
so much.
No, not so much. Not so much. But attack on God has been always, that's just
Yeah.
a norm, right? That's
Yeah.
a normal thing. So Mark Twain, as everybody knows Mark Twain, and he's very famous, and people have read his books, and So Mark Twain remarked that faith is believing in what isn't so, or what ain't so. Atheist H.L. Mencken asserted that faith is an illogical belief in the occurrence of the improbable. And Karl Marx termed that faith in religion is the opium of the people. So it gets you high, basically. And one prominent American businessman stated that faith is for losers. Right? So, I mean, you know what it is that if you have a voice and you find enough people to, back you up, right? Then almost what you say becomes church, becomes
Yeah.
religion for them,
Right, right.
becomes what they believe in or what
Yes.
they have faith in.
But
Right.
but some of those quotes that you just gave, they make sense from human logic
Yeah.
and human wisdom.
Yes.
You know, and even
Exactly.
back to your painting, Vernice, I mean, like all of these things that people are pursuing, I mean, the proof is that that nothing satisfies. You know,
Nothing,
nothing's
yeah.
like permanent and
It's all
long lasting.
temporal.
But faith is something that transcends your brain. You can have proof to a point, but faith requires belief in something that you can't see. You know, there is a point where you've got to kind of say, well, I can't 100% see this. I've experienced enough to convince me that there's some truth here. You know, I'm seeking God. I'm seeking to believe. But, you know, I don't know. You know, I mean, I don't know, but I'm willing. And I think that when you get to that point when you say you're willing, that's where God can really step in and meet you at that place and help your faith progress, because
Right.
it is something that you can't see with
Right.
your human eyes.
You might not be able to see it, but there's something in you
That just knows.
that is a foundation to give you that leverage
Right.
to leap for that faith. You see what I'm saying? Like to leap. Yes, it is a substance that you can't see. The Bible does say that, but that's taken out of context too, right? Because you're right. It's not what you can see right now, but you have enough solid ground and faith and proof of
Sure.
what God has already done.
Exactly.
Right? That now you can believe without seeing.
Correct.
Right?
Right.
I mean, I'm not going to, you know, if somebody tells me, you know, the bridge is down, and it literally is, but I'm just going to go ahead and drive because I have faith I'm going to fly across. That's not going to happen.
Right.
But if I know that there's a bridge there, then there's something solid and a foundation that's going to drive me over that
Right.
path.
Right.
Right.
So I mean, so that's, I think, where a lot of people that I've spoken to who are atheists kind of get that little bit of the scripture confused, because they think that, you know, faith is the substance of things hoped for and things that are evidence
Yes.
of things that are not seen,
Right.
right? But they take that meaning as that there's nothing at all, you're just believing in God because you just
Right.
feel like believing in God. No, that's not true.
That's not true. And
that's not true.
There's so many times that I've had people say that you're weak, that you're a loser to believe in a God that you have no proof that exists.
Right.
And to that I would say, you know, like that painting, she's like you said too, Lori, she's searching, we're all searching for something.
Yeah.
And when we find that something, whether it's a husband or whether it's a new job or whether you finally got that house that you've been, you know, working so hard for, once you get it, it's like, then you got to go to the next thing. Then you got to go to the next thing,
Exactly.
next thing, next thing. And it's like a thirst, right? And it never is quenched. And so for me, when I did, you know, have this faith to believe in Jesus, and, you know, I wasn't always a believer. Something had to happen to me. Someone told me about this Jesus, and I had a choice to make, right? And so when I started just to tippy-toe out there and started to read the Bible to see if this Jesus was, you know, who this person said who he was in her life, it took the baby steps, but the baby steps to build that relationship so that I can know who he was
Yeah.
or is, so that I can trust him. And then when I came to the point, like, you know, like dating, you got to see who this dude is, right? You know, not that I'm calling Jesus a dude or anything,
right.
but, you know, you got to check him out. You got to see
That's
how
good.
he's responding
That's
to
good.
you. And,
Exactly.
you know, is he like, you know, back then we didn't have the cell phones, but, you know, Carl would be on the phone with
the
me all
beeper.
the
He's on the
time,
beeper?
you know?
On the
I didn't even
pager?
have the pager back then. Only doctors had those things back then. So, you know, we would be on the phone for hours and talking and then, you know, fall asleep on the phone and da-da-da, you know. So we're building this awesome love thing together, right? Conversation. I would listen to him, he listened to me. And that's how it is with Jesus. We read the word, we listen, we hear what he has to say, he listens to me, and blah, blah, blah. And for me, at the end of the day, as I'm building this relationship with him and I'm experiencing his love in tangible, evident ways, it comes to the point where it becomes a relief not to try to figure out my own life.
Right.
It's a relief. It's like, oh, you know what? You already know what's best for me. You already know, like, my desires. You already know, like, the things you put in me. You made me who you made me to be. And so it's just going to be such a relief just to give you my life and just trust you with it, that you're going to lead me step by step to get me to the place and get me to the person that you want me to become.
And that within
It's a
itself-
sigh of relief. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, the husband being the head of the house. You know, some women get mad at that. I'm like, dude, be the head of the house, okay? Be him, because like it's a relief not to be the head of the house. Like I didn't want to,
that's good.
you know, that the wife, you know, these girls nowadays they don't want to submit. They want to be everything, and good for you if that's you. I like being, you know, under, you know, respecting my husband and submitting to my husband as in Christ, because it's a relief not to try to have to figure that stuff out. Let him take that to Jesus and have faith in that Jesus is going to listen to my husband and that he's going to hear, and then, you know, our whole family's going to be blessed because I have faith to trust God in my husband.
Right. Yeah. It takes the
But
pressure
was
off.
What a
but was
relief.
your faith automatic?
No, but built
Exactly.
up to spending time on the phone,
Right,
talking to
right.
Jesus, so to speak, reading the Word, getting to know who He is, and it took the little baby steps. And let me tell you, when people first become Christian, it's so funny because you know you driving in the parking lot, and you get the spot you want.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? You're like, Jesus, if you're real, let me get the spot. You know,
Yes.
when you first get
Oh,
saved, like all those little
yes,
silly prayers are being
yes.
answered, and you're like, Jesus is real. Now you get in the faith a little bit longer, you know. I don't have that spot no more. I gotta walk 4 miles to the mall now. Well, you need to lose weight anyhow, so you need to walk 4 miles over there anyhow. So you should just go in there and do what you need to do. So you know what I'm saying. So it doesn't become like he takes the little put them when you're riding a
training
bike.
wheels,
He
the
takes the
train-
training wheels off. So now you got to like jiggle a little bit in your faith so that you can go on a straight path. And then maybe the next day you're going up a little rickety mountain on your little bike with no training wheels. So it takes time,
Right.
step by step, to build it up.
Yeah.
But a lot of times disappointment will come.
Yes.
And you get knocked off the bike and you don't have no training wheels, and now you're mad at the manufacturer who made the bike. You slamming the bike on the ground. You're like, I don't want to ride this stupid bike anymore because now I'm hurt.
Right.
And so we give up faith and just leave the bike.
But that goes
That's
back to talking about the feelings thing, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
when you're basing your faith walk or faith on feelings, it's a dangerous ground
It's
because
dangerous.
it's not solid, right?
Yep,
You
yep.
have to build, like you said, slowly that relationship by reading or listening to worship and experiencing that. Reading is number one.
Right.
Reading is
Reading
number
the
one.
Word, yeah.
When we're talking about faith in God.
God, yes.
Reading the Word is important, and when you are dealing with that kind of everything coming at you, it just seems like we sometimes rely too much on the other person to teach me, so I don't have to do the work.
That's right.
Right.
Yep.
But the problem is that when life hits you, that other person can't do anything about that.
That's right.
Right.
You know,
Yep,
it
yep.
has to be you. I mean, it's important. This is important. Community is important. Talking to each other is important.
Yes.
Talking to these amazing people that are
Yep.
watching this is important.
Important, yep.
Because we are now becoming a community where we can talk to each other in a very respectful way. And we're all sitting here in very different faith walks.
Yeah.
Right? And in very different levels of our faith and in very different things, but we all have a foundation.
Yeah.
Right? The thing is that we're building it up a little differently amongst all of us. I'm not an artist. You would have had stick figures on that little thing over there. It would have been like a whole bunch of stick people sitting there like this, because there's no way I would have been able to do that. But you are an artist and you speak through your art. And so people who respond to that, when I see your art, I'm like, when I saw that art piece, I was like, oh, I love it. You know, it just brings something out of you, right? So it's the same thing like when you're doing this faith thing. It's about knowing where people are, not trying to shove a foundation under them either, right? I don't believe that we should go out and beat everybody with
That's
a
right.
Bible that they
Yeah.
should become Christians. I wouldn't have been. to
I
be
wouldn't have
honest with
been,
you.
right?
If
Would
somebody
you?
would have treated me like that,
Yes.
I
But I
Yeah.
had that experience where people were, constantly bombarding me with Bible verses and stuff like that. And all I came coming back with was, well, really, if there's a God, then how come all these miserable things happen in
Yeah.
the world? You know, I mean, really, then why doesn't God stop all this stuff? And those
Yeah.
were big barriers for me,
Yeah.
so I wasn't seeking God. I had concluded that there was no God. I studied philosophy. I looked at, the religions of the world, and it was like they all kind of had the same sort of basic, like, do good to other people, and, and I thought, well, it's all just good advice. There's no real reality there. And it was very easy for me to kind of shut down those people that were shoving Bible verses at me, because it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like they were talking to me. It was like they were just shoving information at me and just like, well, here, you need to believe this. Now,
Right.
what really changed me was an actual experience, an encounter with God.
Right.
And it was at a place in my life. I was a teenager. It was just a really hard time in my life. I didn't believe in anything or anyone. And I made what was just actually a very snotty prayer. You know, I said, well, God, if you're there, then you better do something. And it was like God really showed up. But it was not, it wasn't like I had, you know, enough information. You gave me enough information and I made this big faith decision, because that was not what happened for me. But I had an encounter with God. I guess my big thing is that if people are seeking to know God for real, they will find him.
Yeah.
You know, they will if you've got some sincerity in there, you may not believe, you may be, you know, like I was, just where, you know, I was just very antagonistic to people that came up to me. I wasn't nice to them. You know, I was trying to be polite, but I just kind of had like, yeah, it's a crutch for you. It's an emotional thing. You don't really believe in that. Because when I would ask people, quite frankly, well, then really you believe in a God who would allow babies to die and stuff like that? No, they couldn't really give me an answer. So their faith didn't even make sense. Like they couldn't really, they contradicted themselves. They didn't, you know, it's like, see, you don't even believe what you know, say you believe over here. You know, I didn't really
that's
see a
actually
lot
really good. That's a really good point, Lori. And that just goes back to being in the Word for yourself, right?
Right.
And knowing things for yourself. And also, you know, the experience with God is very vital, right? But so is knowing some history and some of the validity to the Word of God, right?
Oh, sure.
Because there's so
Yeah.
much information where we can now go and actually discover the doctrines that were actually written and what they actually said
Of
and
course.
how they were actually translated and the proof of the
Yes.
tablets and the
Yep.
proof of all this stuff that actually is there. Like now we
Yeah.
have tangible, real proof. It's not just experiential.
Yeah,
right?
but after I came to a place where I believed and I encountered God for myself, then I was receptive, and then
Right.
you know I could you know, like spiritually I was open to really hearing
Right.
things that I was very close to before. But I guess the thing that's really cool for me is that anybody can know God who wants to. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like you know,
That's good.
you just
Yeah.
ask Him. You know,
Right.
you ask like the picture. There's so many different directions you could be going in life. What's true?
Right.
You know, Pilate said, you know, to Jesus, well, what's truth? You know, that's the person to ask. You know, ask Jesus, like, what
Right.
is truth? You know, and be open and receptive. Ask and demand an answer, because
And
God will
asking
give
questions
it to you.
is so important. Jesus
Yeah.
said, "Who do you say that I am?"
Right, exactly.
You know, and it's like you don't get the revelation really unless the Holy Spirit is the one that gives you the revelation of who Jesus is. And upon that foundation, you know, the church was built based on who you believe Jesus is.
Right.
I think it's scary
you know?
though to ask about who God is or ask God, right? Because I mean, I was raised Catholic. You know, I'm Hispanic, so that's what we do. But I actually walked away from that faith, you know, and then didn't believe really. I was kind of like agnostic. I kind of didn't know and didn't, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know if I was completely atheist per se, but more agnostic, I think I lean towards. And, you know, it's a difficult thing because when you ask him, you might get an answer. And I kind of didn't want an answer because I liked my life of, you know, partying when I wanted to and drinking when I wanted to and doing what I wanted to. And so, you know, to ask means I'm going to kind of demand that I get an answer.
Kinda, sorta.
Kind of, sort of. And I didn't really want it. I didn't really want it. So, you know, personally, sometimes I feel like we have more faith in a light switch than we actually do in something bigger than that.
Yes.
So, thank you so much, ladies. We are going to take a short break. Thank you so much for watching. This is Nina Perez, and we'll be right back. We have been talking with Vernice and Lori about different faith views and how people see faith and how you can actually walk in faith, things like that. And what I want to touch on now is like, how did you come to faith or, you know, come to an idea of what faith was for your life, right? And maybe how faith operates or operated, if you want to give like a story of some kind, in your life. Like, how did you see actually this faith is operating because, you know? Do you have stories like that?
What a loaded question.
That's a loaded question. I can start or you guys can start.
Well, I'll start, Lori. Well, I came to faith, besides having faith in me, I had a lot of faith in me. I'm super faith like
So you were
me.
confident,
I was
very
the she
confident,
hero.
yeah, got it.
So I had a great job. I was traveling. I was a designer. I was doing everything that I wanted to do. So I was the superhero of my own faith. My husband was Pentecostal religious or whatever, so he came from a family of faith. And basically what happened was I was into the psychic world and doing visiting psychics, and they were telling me my fortunes and all that good stuff. And then when I met my husband, and he had a family of faith, and we came together, one of faith, one not, right, coming together. And basically through that experience of his mom praying for me, somebody told me about who Jesus is. And as I was sharing before in the other segment, that basically I took these baby steps of how and who Jesus is. And so that's how I came to faith. An example I would give is basically, I'm thinking about my husband's mother's prayers. When she first met me, I'm a little colorful, okay?
No.
Just a little tad. And they were very religious. They, like, the women didn't wear pants, no
Woo,
makeup.
you came and shocked that world.
And it was me, yo, okay? And,
Like,
so,
oh,
yeah, so they
got
met
it.
me, and I mean, they loved on me. They were very nice, but visiting their church the first time, and I'm like, look, I'm wearing makeup. I think I had, like, blue lipstick on or whatever. This was years ago, too. So basically, at the end of the
Lipstick
day,
was in, though.
20 years ago?
It was in.
Oh, okay, well, okay. I thought I was being different. Nina shot me down with there, okay.
I just remember
Anyway.
being a young girl and always wanting to wear it, but never had enough guts.
Oh yeah, I wore
Yeah.
it. So anyway, so we went to this church, and everyone's screaming and shouting, praise the Lord, hallelujah, church. And I walked in there, I'm like, what in the world is happening in here? Like, ladies wearing all white with this thing on their head, running around church, people speaking in different languages, and I'm like, yo, I'm out of here. I don't know what is even happening right now.
Oh my gosh.
But basically, at the end of the day, his mom, my mother-in-law, who I love so much, prayed, almost 12 years. And one day, someone invited me, it's too long of a story, but invited me. I said the prayer to receive the Lord. I came. 2 weeks later, I called. I said, oh, they told me to read the book of Acts. What's the book of Acts? And I spell Acts, A-X-S, like an axe.
Like an
Like an
axe.
axe. And she's like, no, dear. That's Acts, A-C-T-S. I'm like, oh, well, where's that at in the book? Because I don't even know what it is.
In the
So
book.
that's I didn't know anything. So that's my story of
awesome.
faith, that she prayed I think it was 12 years, 10 or 12 years for me to know who Jesus is. So never
So for 10
give
or 12
up.
years,
Never
you
give
did
up
not
on praying.
have a faith walk.
Oh no, I was
so
seeing my psychic. I was
Were you guys married at this time?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And that's, through us being married, that's how I met, obviously, my husband's family, but that's how she never made me feel bad. She never
that's
condemned
awesome.
me. I would sit on the phone. They lived down south, and I'd tell her about my psychic experiences. Praise God, And at the end of the day, she was like, oh, okay. Never said, prayed for
Wow.
me.
That's
Oh,
good.
that's
That's
nice.
huge.
Prayed for me, and here
That's
I am
huge.
today. That's huge. Never
huge.
once did I have any condemning, bashing over the head. She loved on me, and I could just cry now, right now, just thinking about her. She's an awesome woman, praying for all the faith. Look, these mom prayers are so powerful. Mom prayers, grandma prayers are so powerful, and we can never give up on our children. So
good.
powerful.
So
So
good.
powerful.
So good.
Yeah.
So good, but that also says a lot about not just the fact that you were prayed over and the experience of that, but the fact that she welcomed you anyway.
Anyway,
which
yes.
is how we should be behaving.
Yes,
Because
yes.
us being in faith and our friends being not in faith or whatever have you should not interfere with how we treat
Yes,
each
each other.
It
Yes.
should not interfere
Yes.
with how we treat each other. I have
Yep.
to say that more than
Say it
once.
again.
because it should not
Yep.
interfere in how we treat
Yes,
each other. I mean
yes,
that.
yes.
You know, I have friends who I just adore them, and I have an atheist friend, a couple of them. I have a Hindu, and all different kinds
Yep,
of
so do I. Yep,
Buddhists and
yep.
everything. And I freaking love them,
Yes.
you know, and they freaking love me.
Yes.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
You know, that we can be next to each other, talk about these things, not be insulting, still support each other and love on
Yes,
each other.
yes.
You know, it is a beautiful thing.
It is, and it
I
should be
do
that way.
pray for them. They probably
Yeah.
pray for me too, you
Right.
know, but I do pray for them as well, and I pray for everybody. You know, I just I love all my friends.
Yeah,
and
that's what it should be.
and there's something to
Yeah.
what you're saying is powerful, because there's something to be said about that, because you could have easily shut that down, right?
Can I
Yeah.
ask you a question, Bernice? Like, so what would you say is different for you since you had the experience and you got faith in God?
Yeah, you mean how's my
Yeah,
life
how's
changed?
your life changed? How would
The
you
biggest
explain
thing
that?
for me would be a sense of relief. Seriously, that I don't have to try to figure out my life, my path. I just really trust God to lead me as I'm in a relationship with Him. Just like I keep going back to the relationship with Carl, that we can say, okay, what are we doing next week, or what are we doing going for vacation? Where we go? You know, what are we having for dinner? I mean, God's not going to tell you what to have for dinner. But the point being is that no, it's important that as you're building this relationship and building faith, because I want to have faith in God. I don't want to have faith in my dream. Or
Yeah.
faith in my goals,
Yeah.
because that can be something that will disappoint me if I don't get it, or even if I do get
Yeah.
it, it's not going to live up to the expectation in my head, right? So I want to have faith in God that He's going to lead me to what He's already predestined for me to enjoy, right? To do and to be, especially more than anything, to be. Who He created me to be is number one. And that's why I feel such a sense of relief in that I can be my colorful, artistic self and not have to compare myself to
Yeah.
anybody else, and not have to say, well, maybe I should tone it down a bit. No, this is how He made me. And this is in my walk of faith and in my relationship with Him, my identity in Him, how He created me to be. And I'm so good with that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm
and
so
you
good
wouldn't
with
be
that.
good otherwise.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you wouldn't be good if you were trying to tone it down if that's not you. You wouldn't be
Right.
good if you were trying to be somebody you're not.
Right.
The truth is look at all of us at the table. We are completely different.
Yes, and
We're
I was going to
completely
wear
different.
a black jacket, and I said, "No, that's not me." and then
glad you didn't.
I saw Lori. I'm like, "Yeah, she wear the black jacket. Good, that's her. But we got to be us
That's
by
true.
faith."
By faith. It's so funny.
So funny.
So, Lori, how about you? What does this look like for you?
Well, so I, as a kid, I really wanted to believe in God, and I really did believe in God. And but I had a really tough time growing up with my mother, and so my parents were divorced, and my mom's had a lot of issues and stuff, and so it just home wasn't great. And I actually was on my own as a teenager, and I was constantly looking at people like, are you happy? You know, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was kind of taking in, like, what's the kind of the point of life, you know,
Yeah.
because as I got older and things just didn't get any better, I just kind of didn't believe there was a God. You know, I can remember it was so violent in the house. I would go out in the woods and I would just close my eyes and be like, God, if I could just open my eyes and see an angel. You know, if I could just open my eyes and see an angel, you know, I could go back in there and believe, you know, that I can get through this. And I remember having my first suicidal thought on my 8th birthday. And I just knew that you had to be 16 before you could be on your own. And I thought, I can't make it 8 more years. I just can't do
It's a lot
this.
for a little kid to think about.
So for me, you know, I never saw God show up and do this big miracle or anything, you know. And I knew that other people had a different life. You know, it wasn't just, you know, like just me. You know, like people had, you know, like it was just my situation, but other people had better circumstances. And so I knew that I could grow up and things could change and I can be on my own and have my own life.
Which is a very adult thought.
I was like an
actually.
adult when I was a kid. I was like, I was studying and
That's a
thinking.
very
Yeah,
adult
it
thought
is.
to have.
But I could see you as a child, as
I
an
was-
adult,
yeah,
thinking,
yeah.
right?
You know,
Just-
always thinking, still do, but you know, so I was kind of trying to make sense of life, and life didn't make any sense. So I looked at religion, I dabbled in the occult, and really I thought, you know, like I had, you know, some psychic ability to have insight to things, and my mother was like that. But you know, as time went on, I just couldn't see the point to living. You know, like living didn't make any sense. Like, why do people even want to be alive? You know, like, you know, like when you're old, why are you happy about that? You're old and wrinkled up. You know, like why do you want to be here? And so I just kind of came to the point one day where I just kind of said, I don't want to be here. So I was 19, and that was a long, long time ago, obviously. But I had made this decision that I was just going to kill myself, and I was really calm about it. There was not going to be a note, you know, there wasn't. I was temporarily living with my dad, who was awesome, but you know, I was waiting for him to leave the house. He didn't leave the house, and it was a long story. But my path wound up crossing with somebody who had gotten faith, and I had no, you know. But before I saw this person, I made this very kind of rude prayer. I remember just I was annoyed. My father was home. I came home and I was like, why is he still here? You know, it's Friday night, he should be out. And and I went in my room and I was thinking about, I was like, oh God, why is he still here? And I'm like, God, only stupid people believe in God, you know? And then I wound up saying, well, God, if you're really real, then you better do something, because as soon as he's not here, that's it, you know. And the very next day, my path wound up crossing very, you know, unbelievably with somebody who had this faith. And I saw this girl from the other side of the room, and I looked at her and it was like, oh my God, she's different. Like she used to be like me, you know, and I just was like, man, she was just completely a different person. And so she came near to me and I said hello to her, and I just said, are you still a Jesus freak? She goes, yes. And so I thought, oh my God. But I couldn't look at her because she was just radiating this happiness that I could never remember seeing in anybody else. So it wasn't like she said anything, and it wasn't like I told her about how, you know, like my state of mind. But, you know, she wound up just, you know, sitting with me and talking to me. I was doing the laundry next door at the laundromat, and I just couldn't deny something changed with her. Something was real. Like there was this inner happiness. There was this like real shift in who she was, and it was like I went back to my room. I never said a word to her about, you know, what I've been thinking about or what my state of mind or anything, but I just put my life in God's hands. I said, you know what? I believe that you're real, because she's totally different. Wow. Totally different. No counseling.
So, I mean,
like
we
her.
already have like this example, right? Of not even really saying much, but you feeling that
I could see it.
radiation off of her.
And the
She could
love
see
of
it.
God.
Yeah, that's
When I
awesome.
made that transaction, when I said, okay, now I was like, I had little information. She just happened to, you know, I said, well, how'd you get to be one of those Jesus freaks anyway? And she showed me a couple verses in the Bible. And I said, well, yeah, I'm happy for you. You seem happy. But I said nothing. But I went back and I kind of said to God in the privacy of the room that I was going to, you know, kill myself in, look, I believe something really changed her. And so I'm going to believe that you're real. And it was like the love of God.
Wow.
I mean, this may sound crazy to people who are watching this, who don't believe in God, or like, I've never seen anything like this, but I was so washed over with the love of God that came over me. And my life really, you know, it's not like I haven't had difficulty in things that have gone on, but it's totally different. Now I get why she was like that, and that inner happiness, that serenity, that peace that I wouldn't trade for anything else. For me, that's the biggest thing. It's like really, you know, like my mind isn't this busy place wondering which way, you know.
Way to go. It's a relief to have that.
Yeah, so it's like peace of mind. It's like knowing that you're loved, knowing that you're guided, knowing you're never alone, and really being able to enjoy that. And it's painful for me to see friends that are, you know, that don't have that faith, you know, because they're just really in a place where they're dealing with anxiety or depression or, you know, and life hurls a lot of things at you.
Yeah, it really does.
You know, it really does. It's not like I don't have, you know, times where I'm sad about things, but it's not that hopelessness. It's not that.
There's a difference.
Yeah, and there's I love life. You know, there's no thought of, you know, since that time, it's like, it's just amazing how God has really worked to I saw this picture one time of the ceiling at Grand Central, you know, like where it used to have soot all over the top of it. And I thought that was pretty cool looking when I was a kid. I'd be like, whoa, look at that. It was, you know, pretty amazing. But then when they cleaned it up, right? You know, just amazing.
Gorgeous.
And that's kind of how I
It's
feel.
like, whoa, that's under there?
But the influence of God in
It's
our
kinda
lives
us.
is like,
That's us.
right, it's uncovering who you are, what you're meant to
your
be.
true self.
Right?
Yes.
Then enjoying,
That's a good analogy, too.
you know, right?
Yeah.
But it's
Underneath the soot.
underneath the soot, you know?
Underneath the soot.
Yeah, the soot that life has hurled on you and put on you. It's really amazing how when you say yes to God, you're opening the door to that process to begin.
Yes.
And it's gradual and it happens over time, but it happens.
It happens.
And I can never imagine being, you know, in that place ever again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just talking about that earlier because they were asking me what the show will be about. Why are you making a show? I can't believe you're doing a show. Are you crazy? What are you doing? You know, this is awesome. You know, crazy awesome is what they meant.
Oh,
you
I
know,
was like,
not
wait,
crazy,
wow.
but
I was
it's
like,
are
who
you
I need to
crazy?
beat up?
That's my faith friends. Beating people up.
Yeah.
No, but you know, I realized that, you know, I'm like driving in the car, because this was a conversation I had with someone a couple of days ago, and I'm driving in the car here today, and I'm like, okay, I can't wait till today. I'm taping 2 segments. This is going to be amazing. My second segment is my first faith talk. What am I thinking? As I'm driving, I'm like, what? I'm freaking out right now. I'm freaking out. But then I realized, right, it's always hindsight, right? It's always that hindsight 20 that gives you 20/20. And as I'm driving, I'm like, I started like weeping in the car because I realized that all of those things I've gone through in my life, and you know, as you guys know, I wrote a book, right? So in that book, I write like each chapter is a chapter of my life, and it's a pretty dramatic, very raw book, right? And because I've been through all of those things, I was able to write them in a book, which then made me want to have a podcast, which made me have a blog, which, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had the blog and the podcast before the book, but that's what prepped me for the book.
Your
you
steps.
know? My steps.
Your steps.
And then I'm like, you know, looking at all of that, and I'm like, I'm about to go right now to the studio to prep for my first talk show.
Yeah.
That just blew me away because I realized it is all connected.
Yes,
all
it's
of
all
it.
connected.
All connected. All of our not having faith, going through the pains that life brings, going through the abuse as a child, like all of those things that have happened has weaved me to this moment.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
And I don't know if I would have been this passionate about giving people resources, tools, and talking about life topics if I didn't have such a life to contend with to begin with, right? And I just think that's a magnificent thing when you look at it from hindsight.
Yes.
Like when you're going through something, like you said, when you're going through it, it's a dark place. And sometimes when it's a dark place, you don't see the way out of that. You don't see how you can get through it. You don't see what can come next. You just don't.
Right.
You know, I have a lot of tests that became testimonies in my life. But the way I refound, if you will, my faith walk was when I was into Santeria, and I used to do the occult as well, you know, and you know, very, very methodical religious practices, right? And candles and statues and cigars and, you know, bones and all this stuff you used to have to do. It sounds so silly as I say it now, but it is really what I believed in. I had some faith in it, you know. I did it for like almost 4 years, so I had some faith in it, right? And I just remember lighting what I thought was going to be my candle to my African saint and to the Jesus candle. And when I went to light I had the lit match in my hands, I don't know what happened. Like I looked at the Jesus candle and something struck me, like I was doing something wrong. And I'm like, am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Am I doing something wrong? Like I just started freaking out because everything I just believed in was falling.
Right.
And I'm like, what is happening? And I blew out the match. I'm like, what is happening? Wait, what is happening? And all of a sudden, this conviction that what I was doing was wrong and that I should be praying to Jesus. And I'm like, and this is our different experiences, right? You had somebody praying for you. I probably did too.
I'm sure
I
you
had
did.
my friend who used to pray for me all the time. My brother turned to God.
Somebody prayed
stuff
for
like
you,
that.
child.
You'd be
Somebody prayed for you.
surprised.
Don't
You'd be
you worry,
surprised. I
Lori.
didn't know that my friend was praying for me till a few years ago when she told me. And the thing was, is at the time, but see, he'll meet you where you are is what I'm trying to say.
That's true,
You
so
know?
true.
He'll meet you where you are, because I was really into this religion to the point where I was going to become one of their high priests, you know, because I really was good at it, you know, and
Dedicated. Committed.
I was really dedicated,
Yes.
really committed, and really faithful in it, and did everything according to the regimens, So, so I thought I was going to move up in this religion, to be quite frank, until this day. And then I just remember falling to the floor. I was asking God, if you're real, you need to show me, because I think I'm doing something wrong. I don't
Yeah.
understand what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And I just started weeping uncontrollably, and I fell asleep on the floor, actually crying. I woke up the next day and I got dressed and, sent my kids off to school. I went to work. And, that afternoon, while I was at work, my apartment burned down, and I came home and I'm like, oh my gosh. So the two thoughts went through my head. The first thought was, oh my God, those saints are mad at me because I didn't do the ritual. I didn't finish the ritual, right? Because that's what they teach you. If you don't finish, if you're not faithful, they come and attack you, right? The second thing was, wait a minute. I just prayed that prayer yesterday, God, if you're real. I said, if this is you, this is not funny.
Right.
This is December 10th of 2001. So it was cold outside. It was winter. It was like 15 days before Christmas. And I'm just looking at a hole that used to be my son's room. And I'm just like, what are we doing? My husband literally, the day before, I think it was, had closed down his business. So we had no business, we had no money, and now I have no
place.
apartment. And that day, the landlord for that apartment, even though it was his fault that they, got these roofers to do this work and they started the fire, he said, yeah, I decided that I want my family to live here, so you guys have to move out. And I'm like, well, this is this is like your fault, right? I said, are you picking today to tell us this?
Wow.
No, it wasn't today. Sorry. He had told us that a couple months ago, and then it reminded us, you're out of here, right? Like, no sympathy whatsoever. And I was just like, wow, I don't know what we're going to do. Like, I don't know what we're going to do. So we... I said, I don't know what we're going to do. Let's call our insurance company. We called the insurance company. They said, I'm sorry, ma'am, your insurance lapsed like 6 months ago.
Oh, no.
I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I said, please recheck. She did. I called back again because I thought maybe she didn't know what she was doing. They rechecked. Nothing. They said, I'm sorry. In June, it got canceled, so we're so sorry. I cried and wept so badly because we had nothing. Where were we going to go? I had to send my kids off to family. Me and my husband are just looking at each other like, I guess we're sleeping in the car tonight. Do you have enough gas? Because it was winter. And so I was like, I don't know what we're going to do. We had animals. It was just crazy. But I remember grabbing the insurance papers in my hand and I said, Jesus, if you are real and you prove this to me, I will follow you all the rest of my days. I will not let go if you prove to me you are real. And I just wept. My husband was weeping. We were all in this really desperate, horrible place. When I tell you we had no money, I don't mean like, oh, we had $100. Like, we had no money, okay? So I was like crying, weeping, no real family that would take us in, that kind of thing. So the next day, I get a knock on the door, and I'm like, we're packing up like whatever we can pack up, whatever, is there. And this guy, my husband opens the door. He always remembers the guy's name. I never remember the guy's name. And the guy's standing there with like a briefcase in his hand. I said, can I help you? I thought they were coming to evict us because I thought it was the landlord saying, we want you out like today, even though we had nowhere to go. And he goes, yes, I'm from Allstate. And I'm like, okay. He said, I don't know how, but I decided to look through all of your paperwork and we found that you actually weren't canceled. You're completely covered. I'm like... I turned around, I looked at my husband.
Applause to Jesus.
Yes.
Applause to
I
Jesus.
looked at my husband and said, Rudy, Jesus is real. Holy Jesus is real. It freaked me out because it wasn't like something you could have even planned.
That's right.
It's not something you could have
Surprise.
even planned.
Merry Christmas.
And that's just one of the many amazing stories.
But what came from that? Relief. That's what I'm saying. Faith, to experience it for real is relief.
Yeah.
I mean, how stressed out are people nowadays when you can truly give it to Jesus? There is a like peace, like for real. You found relief when you got that at the door because you gave it to Jesus.
Absolutely, because that
Yes.
same day he gave me the money that we needed to go into the hotel. He gave us everything we needed. And you know what?
Yep.
I can
Praise
never,
God.
ever,
Yep.
ever deny or shut down the fact that he is real, because he's done so many
Yeah.
unbelievable things.
He has
but
proven
even
it.
aside of our experiences, let's throw that to the side. If we wanted to, we can find every proof there is that there is a God, that there is a Jesus, just intangible proof, like, you know, paperwork and things that we have, articles and all kinds of stuff that we have that date back, you know, over 2,000 years, that'll show us the reality of what
Yeah,
things were said in the
historical,
Old Testament,
historically.
everything that's historical, that actually coincides with everything Jesus accomplished in the New Testament. And when you look, because that's where I'm at right now, because I want to go back to school to get my master's in divinity and apologetics. And because that's what I want to do, I've been digging deeper and deeper and deeper and learning that it's not about my emotions and not about what I'm feeling today, but actually what is tangible
Yes.
and real. And
Yep.
when you get to
Evidence.
that point,
Yep.
you can't help but to have faith, because now you've built it, you know? And that's that knowing that the foundation has to be there. It is not blind. It is because you have built something.
Yes,
Right, and
Like,
yes.
you can't tell
yes.
someone that doesn't believe, hey, just have faith in Jesus,
Yes,
you're good.
yes.
That is not going
Yes,
to happen, and it
yes.
is not going to operate.
No, but
Yes.
you can tell somebody who doesn't believe to put that to the test.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, like I love the story, you know, for the people that know the story about Thomas in the Bible, you know, so the disciples had seen Jesus, but Thomas said, well, unless I stick my finger in his side, and Jesus drew near to him.
Yes.
Jesus drew near, Jesus appeared to
Yep.
him and came near to him
Yeah,
and
it's
said,
like,
hey.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
it's really full circle,
It's those
right? If you
prayers.
got to faith, it's gonna,
Yeah.
it's full circle
It's those
back
prayers
to
like you. If you're real, show me.
And
If
show
you're
me.
real, show me. If you-
Show me.
I mean, when you seek him
Ladies.
with all of your heart, you'll find
Find
him.
him, exactly.
This was
Amazing!
this was amazing. I had
was
a
amazing.
lot of fun with you ladies, and I really want to do this again.
Yeah,
okay?
of course.
We'll
This
attack
would be
some
awesome.
other amazing
Yeah.
topic that we
Awesome.
can
This is so
talk
awesome.
about. Yeah. So I wanted to let all of you that are viewing know that you can reach me at hello@straighttalknosugaradded.com. I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear questions that you may have. Maybe a faith topic that you'd like us to touch on, something you'd like us to speak about. Like I said, this will be a segment that will be presented for Straight Talk throughout the seasons that we are here, hopefully many, many seasons. So let us know what you want to hear about. Do you have any questions for Lori? Do you have any questions for Vernice? Do you have any questions for me? Let me know. Again, it's hello@straighttalknosugaradded.com. And next time when we have these segments, I would love to answer those questions. So whether it's for us personally that you'd like to ask, I will re-invite these beautiful women back onto the show, and we can answer those questions for you, because we would love to do that. Or if you just have a faith topic that you'd like an answer to, or see it being discussed, I would love to do that with you also. So thank you so much for watching. This is Nina Perez at Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Thank you for being here.